Bob Gorley with Jerry Mohney, podcast number 131 for Bob's Truth Seekers. Can you tell us about your early life, Jerry?
Well, I was born in 1940. In 1946, Dad was killed, and I started working for your dad down at the slaughter shed, more or less cleanup. My brothers and I would go in there. We cleaned the place up, picked up the bones, and salted the hides, and washed all the equipment and things like that. And this went on until I was about a junior in high school. We worked there, worked in the fields. We had the farm there, and we worked all summer, and all winter we'd in the slaughter shed working. But we never had a whole lot, but we always had enough. And then I moved to New Bethlehem in my junior year, and went out for sports, and I did well in football, did well in track, and then I went into the service after I got out of high school. I volunteered for the draft. That way I only spent 2 years in the service, and I spent 11 months in Germany, and out of that 11 months I traveled around 1 month. We saw a lot of Europe, London, Paris, Italy. We just did, a friend and I from Baltimore just did a lot of travel, and we'd take off on weekends, and we were just always on the go. So it's been a good life. It's been a kind of a tough life, but we made it. We've all graduated from high school, and we're all quite successful in life, I think.
What was New Bethlehem like back then when you moved into New Bethlehem?
Oh, well, we lived in a little tenant house over on Wood Street, and there wasn't just a whole lot going on, a lot to do. There was bowling, the theater was working at that time, and outside of high school and sports, there just wasn't a whole lot going on.
How has the town changed in the last, I guess 60, 85 years?
Well, a lot of it is burnt down. You know, at the fire we had back several years ago,
Yes.
it took out a couple blocks of stores, which we needed, the hardware, the 5 and 10, and several other ones up through the corner there. And well, we got a couple new stores in, but it just there's really no real place to shop in New Bethlehem anymore. If you want a shirt, if you want clothing, you got to go out of town. Shoes, you got to go out of town. Outside of pizza places and bars, there's plenty of those. That's just about it. Insurance companies.
What's some of your favorite memories from living right here?
Well, we moved here in 1978, and we got along with the Brights real well. We got along with the Kerrs very well, and it's just a nice community. Back probably 10 years ago, when Joanne wasn't well, we Glenn met me down here on the alley one day, and he said, "I'm going to mow your grass." And I said, "No, I can get it," because we were traveling to the doctor for dialysis 3 days a week, groceries 1 day a week, my doctor's appointments, and it was just a 5 day a week running. We were on the road a lot. Glenn said, "I'm going to mow your grass." I said, "I can get it." He said, "No," he says, "I'm going to." He's been mowing it ever since. He mows my grass. He trims the sidewalk. I got my tree to trim yet. I'm going to try to get it this week. And I do some of the outside work, but not too much. I clean up the leaves, trim the trees. But he does most of everything else. I do the painting, the upkeep on the house and stuff like that. There's not a whole lot of upkeep to do. Outside of painting, I got to paint the back porch again. I've got the first coat on, but not the second. And I got the first coat on the gray. I'll probably put a second coat on it. But I keep busy. I'm secretary of 3 different organizations. I spend my Thursdays at the Distant Senior Center. I'm an officer over there. I'll take care of that. I'm the treasurer. I pay the bills, take care of the money. And I enjoy that. I do things I enjoy. I go to the Masonic Lodge. I go to, I was just going to say it, American Legion meetings. And I try to keep out of the house as much as I can. Like I said, I go to breakfast 5 days a week. So we're on the go. I'm on the go.
You served as a judge of elections in South Bethlehem. What motivated you to get involved in local elections, and what was that experience like?
Well, I was judge of election for 36 years. And we had a real good team. Same people year after year, except at the very beginning. Then my neighbor died, the one up here on South Street. She died. But I got to know the people in South Bethlehem. And I decided back several years ago it was getting quite computerized. And I'm not a computer person. Anytime I needed anything done on the computer, I had Joanne do it because she was good on the computer. She worked at work on a computer. But I just never really got into it. So I decided it was time to let go. So, but it was a very good experience. I really enjoyed it. I knew most of the people in Southside. Now I don't. A lot of people moving in, moving out, and I just have not kept up with the times of meeting them. And but it was a good experience, real good experience. I enjoyed it. I like being around people.
What are some of the biggest community events or traditions in New Bethlehem?
The biggest what?
Community events or traditions in New Bethlehem.
Well, the fair, the Clarendon County Fair, is one of the big. It used to be the Farmers and Merchants. We used to enjoy that. The Peanut Butter Festival, I go to that, and I like to eat, and I like to eat carny food, if that's what you want to call it. But that's what it is, a lot of it, and I enjoy just sitting around and talking to people that. If I see somebody sitting somewhere, I'll go over and sit down beside them and strike up a conversation. Name, where you're from, things like that. And there's a lot of things going on around town. We have parades, Memorial Day, Christmas parade, the Santa Claus coming to town, and things like that. So you want to just take part and kind of get into the groove of Christmas with the Christmas parade And I do a lot at church with the Oakland Church of God. That I'm over there every Sunday, church and Sunday school. I was on the benevolent committee for 18 years over there. Then I gave that up. And I was on different committees that you get to meet the people, know how they getting along and helping people. This is what we do in the benevolent committee. We help a lot of people. We've helped a lot of people. And I've kind of taken that on myself now. When I find somebody that's in need, I am no ways near rich. I don't. It all depends how you do this. You might get the definition of rich. I'm enriched in a lot of things. Money, I am well taken care of. Because I started back 50 years of investing and things like this, and I live comfortable, and I start helping people out. They don't know it. A lot of people, I've helped people from Florida, Wisconsin, to New Jersey, and they don't know it. I have ways of finding out how people are in need. I read papers, newspapers, local papers, and if I find somebody that's burnt out, I find furniture to give them. I've done this several times. And money-wise, I give money to a lot of people. A lot of people don't know it. And most of the people don't know it. I just give it through an organization, give it through the church, but they don't know what I do. And this is the way I like to keep it.
What's one piece of advice you give to younger generations in the area based on your experience raising a family here?
Well, I've been very fortunate with my grandkids and my kids. The best advice I can give them is when you get out of school, keep going. If you don't want to go to college, go to a trade school. Matter of fact, the government is pushing trade schools now. And get an education and get yourself a job. There are a lot of people right now that I know, and they say, well, I can't find work. Well, you can if you go look. I mean, I can go over town and there's 5 or 6 different stores looking for help.
Yes.
And it might be for pizza, Burger King, the auto parts, insurance companies are looking for people. Just go look and try it. If you don't like it, then try something else. But don't just sit and expect the government to take care of you.
Are there any funny or heartwarming family stories from life in Bethlehem you'd like to share?
Well, when I got hurt, it's been 53 years ago, and I was involved in an accident at the tire shop. The city of New Bethlehem took me in. They provided a lot of things for me. I had people tell me, if you need anything, call. Or if I find out you need something you don't, then I'm going to be here. You know, whatever you need, if you need a ride, if you need groceries, you need money for your bills or anything like that, just let me know. And they were very, very fortunate. Different organizations took up money, and which a lot of people were involved in, churches, and it was very satisfying to know that people were behind you. When I went to the hospital for therapy, I could go out and call anybody around town, that'd give me a ride. That the people were very accommodating and helped me. So I needed help at that time. At the very beginning, We had very little coming in, but we always had money. If I had a bill, I'd tell my wife, put it in the drawer with the rest of them, and come time for that bill to be paid, I'd get Christmas card with money in it, Easter cards with money in it. You know, people were just kept helping us out.
Well, speaking of that accident, can you walk us through that? Like, how did it happen?
Well, I still say this was a God thing from beginning to end. This happened on a Tuesday on...
and where did it happen at?
At a tire shop, at Biersock Tire Shop.
Bars down here.
Yeah. Well, they're not there anymore.
No.
I worked there for 12 years, and then we incorporated. I was part of the shop. And back in the latter part of August of 1972, we had a truck come in that we had to put 4 tires on the back. And we had a tractor tire at the same time. So Terry Moore was working for us at the time, and I said to Terry, he just started, I said, you take the tractor tire, I'll take the truck tire. I said, if you get a little overtime, this was around 4 o'clock, I said, just take your time and fix it. So he left. Harold Biersock and I were working on the truck. He was on one side and I was on the other. And we had it jacked up. We took the 4 tires off of the back axle and moved them to the front axle. When I picked the 1 tire up over the brake drum, the ring blew off. It was a split rim. It was a split with a solid ring. Well, I was right down in front of it. It was already in service. I wasn't pumping it. I wasn't doing anything but moving it from one axle to the other. And that ring came out and caught me down across the forehead, right arm, and my left leg.
Was this before you changed the tire or after you? Or
this was during.
This was while you were changing the tires?
Yes. Well, I was moving them from one axle to the other. Well, it moved me across the alley, and it caught me right straight down across the forehead. And from then on, what I knew is what I was told because I was out.
What time of the day was this?
About 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
4.
And the ambulance came. Dr. Miller came across the street, looked at me, and he said, there isn't much I can do for him. And because this ring had hit me across the forehead, and he went back to his office. I guess he canceled all his appointments the rest of the day. The ambulance come, took me to Katanning Hospital. From what I was told, Max Minnick rode with me from the tire shop to Katanning. The doctor.
What was Max Minnick doing there?
That I'm not exactly sure. He wasn't in the truck. It was Rarick's truck from up on Cottage Hill.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what Max is doing there, but they needed somebody to ride in the ambulance, and he volunteered. The doctor in Katanning looked at me and he said, nothing I can do. He's a neurosurgeon. We don't have one. Head south. So they put me back in the ambulance, got me down to Allegheny Valley in Natrona Heights. I went in there. The doctor was not there, but a nurse took care of me. And she took care of what I had to do with my head, and the doctor came, and then they just started working on me. They worked on me for about 8.5 hours that day, and told the family he won't be here in the morning. So I was taken up to a room, and I lost 8 days. I was out for 8 days before I came to.
So you were unconscious from 4 o'clock in the afternoon
For 8
for
days.
8 days constant. And
Yes.
they'd already told everybody that you weren't going to live through it.
Right.
Okay.
And my brother came in from Ohio. People started praying. This whole area, like I said, from Wisconsin, I got nephew out there, one in Virginia, Florida, all started praying. And I came through those 8 days. But when I woke up, I was in a room by myself. And I had no idea what was going on or where I was at. My right arm was taped to me. My left leg had on a cast up to my thighs. And I put my hand up to I couldn't see out of my right eye. Put my hand up to my head. I had no hair. And I got just a little excited. And I thought, I don't know where I'm at. I started praying. I said, Lord, come and take me. Do whatever you want to do. I don't care. If it's time for me to go, okay. If not, the only thing I ask that I might be made well. And just as sure as I'm sitting in this chair and you're sitting on the couch, he appeared at the bottom of my bed. The room got very, very bright. Very bright. There was no communication between us. And all of a sudden, a warm, bubbly feeling started at the top of my head and started right down through my body. My arms, my legs, and right out my feet. I had no pain. I felt good. And the doors flew open. Of course, I was wired up. The door flew open, and in comes the doctors and the nurses. First thing they say is, how do you feel, Mr. Mohney? I said, I feel okay. You know what your name is? I said, yeah, I know what my name is. We started talking back and forth. He said, ask me a couple other questions. You know where you're at? I said, no. I said, who are you? He told me. I said, you're not my doctor. Now, I had never met this person before. I said, you're not my doctor. He said, no, I'm not. I said, then you and the rest of these people get out of here and get my doctor here now. They all kind of looked at me like I had flipped over. He goes like this, everybody leaves. He said, I was assistant at your operations. I can answer any question you want. I said, okay, so we talked. I wanted to know what happened. I did not believe him. He told me this truck rim blew up. I said, no. He told me about my arm. I had a compound fracture of the right arm, compound depressed bifrontal skull fracture, which means my forehead was blown in. And it was pulverized like sawdust. My left leg was broken, and my kneecap was broke. So we talked for a while, and after that I went back to my room, And I felt great. The doctors told everybody, whatever you do, we don't know what he's going to be like when he wakes up or when he meets people. He could be one of the meanest people you have ever met, or he could be so docile that nothing bothers him. So they said, don't get him upset. Whatever he wants, get him. Well, that was the wrong thing to say, because I used that at certain times. If I wanted ice cream at 10 o'clock at night, Jerry got ice cream. You know, one day they and of course all I ate for probably a week or so was soup. I lost a tooth also, and they brought soup in. One day the nurse brought it in, and I just pushed it away. I said, get this out of here. She said, okay. She took it. Well, quite a time period had passed, and she didn't bring me anything. And I thought, well, Mohney, soup would have been better than nothing. Pretty soon she came in. She had mashed potatoes and some other soft stuff. You know, I couldn't eat anything hard, so I was eating a lot of soft stuff, but it really tastes good. But from then on, I got soft stuff to eat. But I got my way a lot of times. But it was, people were nice to me, nurses were nice, the doctors were good. It wasn't something I want to go back through again, but it was a big experience. It did a 180 on me from what I used to be, because I was nicer to the kids. I had two boys, 5 and 7 at the time. I was nicer to my wife, nicer to people, a lot of people I did not like. At work, when they came in the front door, I was ready to leave the back. I just did not like them. But I got to the place where I liked them. You know, and it was just a complete changeover, which a lot of people didn't really understand what happened until I told them the whole story. You know, the meeting of the Lord, and everything changed. I quit drinking. I used to drink beer. I used to drink beer just about every night before I went to bed, so I could relax and sleep. But that all quit. I asked the doctor before I left the hospital, it was in September, I said, you know, Doc, my neurosurgeon, I said, this is football season. I said, can I sit? I said, I'm going to be downstairs because they moved everything downstairs. And I said, I'm going to be laying downstairs watching TV. Can I drink a beer? And he said, well, he said, I'll tell you. He said, if you could drink a glass of beer before every night, he said, you won't get half it down now. He says, I'm telling you, he said, no. He said, with the medication you're taking, he says, you'll find yourself walking the ceiling, not knowing how to get down. He said, I'm telling you, it's best not to, because of the alcohol and stuff like that. He said, so I just plain quit. Cold turkey. I didn't even try it. I just plain quit. Anything I had under the sink at the house, I had some hard stuff there, I dumped. One day I just looked at it and I said, well, no use you being here. So I just popped the tops off and down the drain it went. I just quit drinking. I haven't even tasted any alcohol in the last 53 years. We go to wedding receptions and stuff like this. I told Joanne, check that bowl, check that one. She'd say, stay away from that one. Because she could taste the alcohol in it. Yep. And I said, no, I'm not even going to try it. And even today, if we go to a wedding reception, I'll have somebody say, hey, check these. Which one has got the alcohol in it? That's the one I stay away from.
Okay, getting back to you're in the hospital, and 8 days later you wake up and your room's all bright.
Yes.
Was it Jesus or God that was there?
I'd say it was Jesus that was there.
Jesus was there,
Yeah.
and you could see him?
Oh, yes, I could see him at the bottom of the bed, all dressed in white, glowing. Oh, yes, I could see him. Like I said, there was no conversation, and it didn't last that long. I wouldn't really want to say just how long, but all of a sudden that warm, bubbly feeling started, and it was all over, and he disappeared.
So he saved you.
Oh, yeah.
So how long, 8 days you're out, then you're awakened. How long after that did you stay in the hospital?
I was only there 23 days. So I lost 8. I was there probably 2 weeks.
A couple more weeks.
Yeah. And when I went through a lot of therapy. It just seemed like the therapist and I she was a young lady. We got along real well. At first, we didn't. But I saw her side of it. I was a little hard-headed at times. Even my neurosurgeon told me that. But I lost my train of thought.
We were talking about the neurosurgeon and the nurse.
Yeah, going to therapy. I was going to therapy every day.
And where did you get a therapy at?
While
you're still
at
in
the
the
hospital. Yeah, I was still in the hospital. And we worked, and we worked. And then I came home in September, probably about the middle of September, a little bit before. And then I went to therapy 6 days a week for 8 weeks. We drove to Allegheny Valley Hospital.
Oh, you went back down there. So that's what.
That was 41 miles down there.
Each direction.
And round trip, 82 miles every day. We never had a problem. The weather, we were going in October, November, never had a problem. Never had a problem. With the car, Joanne drove. The nice thing about it, they took care of me down there. We pulled into the front of the hospital. There was a security guard there. He came over to the car, helped me out. I had my own parking place. It was reserved right in front of the hospital.
Right.
And he'd get me out into the wheelchair, get me turned around. Joanne would park the car. She'd come over. We'd go into the hospital. As soon as the doors opened, the nurses was there.
How long did you have to stay in the wheelchair?
I didn't get the wheelchair just right away. Well, we got it. I'm trying to think how long. I was probably in the wheelchair at Christmas time. So I was probably in it for those 4 months, September, October, November, December. Yes, because then I got on the crutches. I wasn't on a walker. I got on the crutches.
So 2 crutches.
2 crutches.
Okay.
Then I went to 1 crutch because I got angry, and I broke one. The doctor was not happy that I was only going to be on 1 crutch. But I got along well, and I went down to see him, and he says, "You know you're not going to walk again." I said, "Yeah, I will." "No." He said, "You're not going to walk." He said, "You're not going to have use of that right arm. And you're not going to see out of that right eye again." I said, "Yes, I will." I said, "I'll tell you what, Doc." I said, "You get the x-rays out here, lay them out, and show me why I'm not going to walk again." He got the x-rays out and tried to explain it to me. I said, well, someday I'm going to show you. He got upset. He goes like this, knocks his x-rays all over the floor, and told me how to get out of there. So I left. I've been back to see him, but I never got to show him how to walk. Mainly because back about April or May, in Las Vegas, there was 2 hotel fires that year. One shortly after the other one. He and his wife had gone out and to gamble, to visit, whatever, and they got caught in the second one, and they both died. I never got to show them that I could walk, but someday I will. Show that I got both feet, and I got my arm back again.
You got your right
It took a long time to get my arm because I tried to play golf that summer, Glenn and a bunch of guys and I tried and I couldn't because I had not the rotation in my shoulder with a compound fracture to swing a club. So I just rode around the cart. So I just gave golf up, but I went with the guys golfing just to get out and communicate, fellowship. But I like to get out when something's around. If anybody says, hey, I'm having a barbecue this weekend, can you be there? Oh yes, I'll be there.
Right.
I like to eat. I like to eat barbecue stuff, and I just like picnics.
So could you walk before you got your arm fixed up, or were they?
Yeah.
Which one got better quickly?
It took it for a long time. I ate left-handed, and Chet came and shaved me.
Your brother.
My brother. He was 2 years younger than me. He'd come over about 3 times a week and shave me. And then I got to play, and my arm would not straighten out. So I would lay on a bed with my arm up like this, with my hand open, and they'd put a weight in it. Started off with like 10 pounds. That doesn't sound like much, but you get 10 pounds out there and into your fingers, your elbow starts to hurt. It starts to burn. Your arm starts burning, and you got to hold it there. You can't do anything with it because it won't go down, and you can't take it out. So then they increased this after a while, till finally I got my arm to work. My arm is good now. I did everything left-handed. I drive left-handed. I shoot left-handed. I went hunting left-handed, and I still got deer. It's just as my dominant arm now. You know, I spent, in between going to therapy down in Allegheny Valley for 8 weeks, I went to Harmerville for 8 weeks. And I was there. It was more weightlifting on this leg. I'd sat at a quad table, and he told me, he says, I'll tell you right now, he said, you can sit there with your leg bent. He said, you're not leaving until you can lift 65 pounds with that leg. And I couldn't get it bent. I couldn't get it straightened out. So we worked, and we worked. Every day, every day. Finally, I got it, and then they started putting weights on it. I got it up to 65 pounds. But that's a lot of weight on the end of your leg out there, too.
How about your eye? Could you ever see out of your eye?
Yes. I had to wait a year before they put my forehead in because I had no forehead.
Right, it was crushed.
It was all blown in, and they cleaned it out like sawdust. And some of the fragments were sticking in the brain. And I waited a year to get that in. And I'd get down, they'd check me out. And I went down and the doctor said, well, he says, I think it's about time to put that forehead in. I said, okay, good. He said, you want to go home and think? This was on a Wednesday. He said, you want to go home and think about it for a while? I said, oh, no. I've been thinking about it for a year. I said, no more thinking. I'm done. He said, when do you want it? I said, tomorrow. He said, that's a little early. Thursday morning, I got a call from the hospital. Get down here Friday morning. We in the car, down we went. They put my forehead in. I don't know just how long I was in the hospital. Not too many days. Probably 3 or 4 days. I think I got it done on a Friday. Monday or Tuesday, I came home. Sunday morning, I went to church. Pastor Jim looked back and he said, what are you doing here, Jared? I said, well, I have a habit of coming to church on Sunday morning. He says, glad to see you. How you feel? I feel fine. I have had no pain with that forehead being put in. When I left the hospital, I had no pain, and I don't today.
Hallelujah.
I don't know what a broken arm feels like, a broken leg feels like. I do know what a broken leg feels like because I broke this one about 5 or 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Now let me see, it'll be 7 years in August. About maybe 10 years ago, I broke this one, running the papers. And then I waited another year before I got my eye operated on, and he told me the same thing. This could happen, that could happen. I said, no, I have faith in you. I want it done. You want to go home? No. I went back to Allegheny Valley again, and they operated on the eyes. It took me, I don't know, quite a while before I could see one object with both eyes at the same time, because this eye was turned up 55 degrees, and they had to bring it back down. I could see. I wore a patch on this eye for a long time, and then I'd switch it to get this eye working. I'd switch them back and forth. And then when I got to the place where I could use both eyes. And then when I hit 50 years old, which was a long time ago, I have a birthday this month, and my double vision came back. And then I just started using one eye at a time. I kept this one patched off. And I learned to drive left-handed. I didn't have an accident, nothing like that. I've done very, very well. But there again, no trauma with the eye, no nothing. I had a patch on it for a week, took the patch off, and then we just doctored with it.
From the time your accident until you were able to drive, how long, how was it, a year or 2 or 3 years until you could drive?
No, it wasn't that long. So, it was less than a year, because when I started driving, there again, Joanne drove a lot of the time, but I'm not as exactly when I did start driving. But I wasn't off too long until I started driving. I drove within that first year after the operation.
Well, that was quite a. So, looking back at 85 years, what are you most proud of in your life, personally or community-wise?
Well, I'm really glad that I met the Lord
Yes.
back 83 years ago, and He's brought me through that. Like I said, I went through this without pain. I don't take pain pills. They gave me pain pills when I left the hospital. I said, I don't want them. She said, take them anyhow. They were nice that maybe I couldn't get to sleep, and I'd have Joanne take one of those capsules and cut it in two. I'd take it. I'd get a good night's sleep. I used it for sleeping pills for a while. Then after a while, I just got rid of them because I didn't really need them. And I'm glad that I met the Lord, and He gave me the stamina and the fortitude to keep moving forward. Never once during those first 3 or 4 years before I really got better after the operations did I ever think I was going to die. Never. Because I had a very positive attitude. I would not take no for an answer. If a doctor said, you can't do this, I'd say, prove it. And I got thrown out of several doctor's offices, and I proved it. Because I just knew I was determined that I was going to be better, that the Lord saved me for something, and got a family, 2 sons. I've got 5 grandchildren left. One's gone. I've got 10 let me think. Yeah, I got 10 great-grandchildren with one on the way. So that's going to make number 11. They're all boys except one. I've got all grandsons except one.
Wow.
So the Mohney name is going to live on for a long time.
Where did the Mohneys originally, were they from Europe, or where did the Mohney clan start?
Well, I honestly don't know that. Mom said we're Scotch-Irish, but I never traced it back.
Did you say Scotch-Irish?
Scotch-Irish.
Scotch-Irish.
Dad came from New Kensington. My grandfather worked in the mill, the steel mill in New Kensington. Okay. And that's where they all, and how Dad got up here, I'm not sure, or how they met. But he came up from New Kensington, and he worked at the New Bethlehem Towel Company. That's where Dad worked at. And
do you have any brothers or sisters still alive?
I have one sister, Stella.
Stella.
Yeah, she lives back in Elk City, which is just on this side of Knox on 208, about 2 miles out of Knox. That's it. And my brother Chet died, and Glenn died first. But there is just 2 of us in the family left. Our cousins, we're down to about 4 cousins anymore.
Is there any message you'd like to leave the listeners? Like any parting shots for people listening to this podcast?
Well, I'll tell you, if you have faith, you're not going to get faith unless you know Jesus, that's for sure. Because that's where it comes from. If you have just a little bit of faith, keep building on it. It's unbelievable what happens to me. I mean, I can wake up in the morning and I might not feel well because of something I ate beforehand. I'm supposed to stay off a lot of red sauces and stuff like that. Yeah, but I do eat pizza. But by the time I brush my teeth and do my bathroom stuff and stuff like that, by the time I'm downstairs, I'm feeling fine. I've had 2 teeth, one in the front here and one on the side, that fillings came out and they broke off. Well, they started to hurt. I didn't want to go back to the dentist again. I mean, the dentist that worked on my My front teeth, I have a bridge on front, very, very good. I really, it was a long, enjoyable trip, and very expensive, but he was very good. And I prayed about it. I just prayed about it. I have no, and this broke off the root, right at the top. The gum, and this one's a little longer. Pain's gone. It's just not there. It's just not there. And everything, before I go to breakfast in the morning, I pray about it. Before I go back to my citrus, I pray for safe travel, and that I find everything at Walmart that I want. I get a few things at the drug counters there, aspirin and toothpaste and stuff like that, just daily stuff. And I walk in there and I find everything I want to. I keep telling people, read the sign. It's just like driving down the road. Read the sign. It'll tell you where it's at. If you just, all your toothpaste, your shaving cream and stuff like that, hand lotion, read the sign. It's there. But just don't give up on, don't ever give up on what the Lord can do, because He can do He can do everything. There ain't nothing He can't do. But you gotta believe. I know people that say, well, I've been praying about this for a long time. And you say, well, do you think you're ever going to be healed? I don't know, I hope so. I said, wrong answer. We played for a girl, which I know you'll know her. She has some eye problems. At church on Thursday night, she came in, and I've known this girl since she was this tall. We talked about her problem. I said, do you think the Lord can heal you tonight? She said, I hope so. I said, wrong answer. I walked away from her. I said, if you're not exactly sure, then we're wasting our time. Your attitude has got to be right. If you don't believe it, then I might as well talk to that lamp. You got to believe what you're praying about. You know, you got to have that attitude. You can't say, well, I hope so, or I wish. No. Or maybe luck will come my way. No. There's no such thing as luck or coincidence. I believe that. People say it all the time. I don't believe in it. God's got you in His hand. He's guiding you along the path. It's a narrow path. You know it as well as I do. And it's hard to follow. It is hard to follow. Sometimes you step off to the side, and He gets you back on again. Sometimes you fall off. He'll pick you back up and say, okay, let's just get your feet back on the path again. Follow me, you know. It's not easy. It's not easy. But there's somebody there to guide you, to lead you. Be open to being led and to follow.
Jerry, I thought this was excellent. I surely appreciate you sitting down for this interview, and I think we're going to call it a day for now.
Okay, I appreciate you being here. I talk to a lot of people. I talk to my doctors about this. I talk to my therapist. I go to Du Bois once a month. I have a urinary problem where my bladder doesn't work. So I have a catheter on. I have it on now. I've had it for 2 years. And the doctor came in one day and he said, let me tell you what I can do for you. I said, okay. He said, we can shave that prostate. He said, that'll open it up more. I said, okay. And I don't remember what the second thing was. I said, okay. No. No. That's my answer. He said, well, he said, you can live with that catheter the rest of your life. I said, that is my choice. I said, we get along all right. I know when to empty it. I know how to take care of it. I said, I don't want any operations, no more pills, no more prescriptions. And my favorite saying with the doctor anymore is, just let me alone. I don't want them. He left. I was talking to my therapist, or not, well, she's a urologist up there, a young lady. Got to know her. She divorced two kids. Yeah, 2 kids, a boy and a girl. Nice lady. And she was the first person I met up there when I went up to the urology department. I was sitting in a room, little room. I was sitting there praying with nothing else to do. Pretty soon, knock came to the door. She opened the door. I looked up, and my impression was, oh, God, they sent me a kid. Just a young woman.
Yep.
She came in. We talked. And at that time, I was just getting over my UTI. And she said, you're over that, you know that? I said, yep. She said, when was the last time you had an exam? I said, when the doctor left last December. She said, you mind if I give you one? I said, no. She did. Very, very thorough. We talked. And as time went on, I go up once a month, get everything changed. And she said to me one day, she was sitting in a chair about this far apart. She says, what happened to you? I said, oh, I don't think you have time, hon. She said, I'm going to take time. Start talking. Well, I told her just about what I told you. Not everything, but a lot of it. And she said, she was really, it was affecting her, you know. So I knew where she stood. And she said, is there anything else? I said, yes, one more thing. I said, I have a request. And I stood up and I went over in front of her and I said, I want you to stand up. She stood up. I said, can I hug you? She said, well, sure you can. I gave her a big hug, and I mean, now she moved from the annex over into the hospital, and I don't get to see her. She's doing the same work over in the hospital now, so I haven't seen her for a year. It was a year this month she left. But nice lady, like to talk, just about anything, you know. But I get to talking to people, and I was sitting up in the office the other day, last month. Guy came out and he said, did you lose your eye or did you just have it covered? Well, you don't ask me questions like that. I said, I lost it. How'd you lose it? Well, he just fell right into it, you see. So I told him. And he stood there and he listened and listened. He talked a little bit and wished me well and safe trip back home. And it's 51 miles from here to DuBois Hospital. It takes me about 50 minutes. And it's just, I never know where I'm going to talk to somebody. Yep. If they say, what happened? You better be ready to listen. Because it gives me an opportunity to talk.
It's a wonderful story. You know,
And,
what a testimonial.
I know people, and this happens in church. Somebody will go through something major. And we have a young, well, he's not a young guy, he's in his 60s. He's got a respiratory problem. And a couple weeks ago, he spent in the hospital. He came home with oxygen. And then things didn't work out well. He got to the problem where he couldn't breathe. He's in the hospital. No, he's not in the hospital now. He was in the hospital Monday. Last Monday. He's home now. But great things happen. He gets up and tells the people what's happening. But we get a lot of people that go through a lot of stuff, accidents and stuff like that. They sit there on their hands. Don't say a word. Don't say a word. How you feeling? Oh, great. How's your arm? Better. Better than what? Don't. I tell people, don't give me generic answers.
I want the full story.
I want to know that somebody will say, will you pay for Bob this week? And this is me. I'll say, sure. What for? Well, he fell and he broke his arm. Good. I'll pray for his arm. I said, I'm not going to pray for his whole body. I'm not going to pray for his legs. He's walking. I said, I'll pray for his broken arm. This is what the preacher and I, we've gone round and round on this, and he finally came around to me. Be specific. The Bible tells you, be specific in your prayer. Why pray for the whole body when there's nothing wrong with it? That's where I was with Gail, and now he's walking. It isn't me that did it. The Lord did it. I just asked him to do it. And I believed that he could do it, and he's done it. So this is just me. I'm specific. Now, if somebody's got a headache, I'll pray for your headache, but I'm not going to pray for your foot if there's nothing wrong with it. You know, that's just me.
Well, Jerry, I really appreciate you taking time to give this story out, and hope everybody enjoys it, and they hit like and subscribe.
Okay, thank you.
Jerry.